Discover unbeatable deals and convenience at your neighborhood family fare supermarkets. Score exclusive deals, earn rewards, join clubs, and clip digital coupons for extra savings all in one place. Our exclusive offers bring savings straight to your card. Explore a wide range of local products that support your community. With easy pickup and delivery options, saving time and grocery shopping has never been easier. Family Fare is all about making your grocery experience easy and affordable at your one-stop shop for all your grocery needs. Family Fare in your neighborhood.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
If you really like this episode, please support our podcast by going to patreon.com/truecrimewives and get lots of great extras.
Good Wife's Guide to True Crime. We discuss crimes that some may find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back, everybody. Tonight we're discussing a case that just infuriates us to no end. We're going to talk about the crimes of a man who took an oath to protect and serve, and instead used his badge to do unscrupulous things on the job and also wreaked havoc and horror in his personal life. We are talking about Drew Peterson, who we first heard about back in 2007 when his wife Stacy disappeared, which by itself is bad enough, but as you'll soon understand, it was just the tip of the iceberg.
Drew Peterson. I walk into everywhere I go and there's this little hum that goes through the establishment. There's Drew Peterson, there's Drew Peterson, there's Drew Peterson.
First, there was Carol.
He liked to brag that he'd have to apply to his girlfriend to go home and see his wife.
Then, there was Kyle.
I was 20 years old. He was a cop. He took me to bars.
After Kyle came Vicky.
I love you too. Here comes her white knight in shining armor.
Then Drew swept up Kathleen.
She was a lot of fun. Very beautiful woman.
And finally, Stacy.
Drew went after Stacy, this trophy almost. She's 30 years younger than him. Look what I got. I have this teenage girlfriend.
Now, one of these women is missing. Another is dead. And Drew Peterson stands accused.
Based on the media coverage, I'm as guilty as they come.
3 words that I would use to describe Drew are egotistical, sneaky, arrogant.
Manipulative, controlling, delusional, conniving.
Drew Peterson is a covert, monster, narcissist.
I can look right in your eye and say I had nothing to do with either of those incidences.
Hey folks, it's time to grab your glass of wine because the Good Wives, Fancy, Colleen, and Cristina, are about to serve up another true crime case.
So I'm the one who kind of started talking about this case to the girls because this case is close to me. I'm in Wisconsin. This case happens in Chicago. And this police officer is just one piece of work. I think what, Cristina, you said very punchable face?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you hear that expression, he is the perfect example of that for me.
Right.
Every time I see his face.
Well, I hadn't really heard a lot about this case until we started interviewing Julie Burnett, who has a similar case to this. Thankfully, though, she didn't end up dead. She was able to get away. But it's another case of a cop who was very abusive to his wives and tried to, make it look like a suicide and she does believe that his first wife was killed that way. So she's going to be one of the interviews that we, have as a bonus to this, along with a suicidologist that talks a lot about suicidology and her, her connection to these types of cases. So, but I had not heard about this case really. I don't know how I missed this one. Generally, I'm on most of them, but I guess I just didn't think about this one. I don't know.
You know, but I never got into it because I'm going to be honest, when I would see the news clips and I would see him coming out and he'd be yelling at the reporters, I would either walk away or turn the channel. Like, he disgusted me from back then. So I never went deeper into that case just because of that until recently.
I see.
The early 2000s and mid 2000s were a really crazy time in the true crime world. So, I mean, around this same time is when other Peterson trials were around. So Drew Peterson getting kind of thrown in there, I feel like he was not as looked at, because it was like, okay, well, they thought, you know, the third wife was, you know, an accident, but then the fourth wife goes missing, and it's a whole big mess.
Yeah, this guy is just a piece of shit. Let me just say like he gives our friends in blue a bad name. That's for damn sure.
And that's why we want to talk about this, is that there are bad ones, but there are more good. But the bad ones seem to just really be bad pieces of shit.
Yeah, like they're bad to their core. You know?
Oh yeah, Drew Peterson is definitely bad to the core. Definitely.
So we're going to get in a little bit about who he was as a person. We'll talk about the different wives, some of the different things that led up to the disappearance of one of his wives and the murder of another. I mean, it's convoluted at best, guys. So we got a lot to talk about here. So hold on.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back. If you've been listening to our podcast for some time, then you've probably noticed that there's been some different changes going on. And that's because we've recently switched over to our new hosting platform using Buzzsprout. And we love it. It could not have been a smoother transition. Buzzsprout has made it super simple and gave us amazing features we weren't getting before. So if you've been thinking of hosting a podcast or you're looking for a new host, then we totally recommend giving Buzzsprout a try. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories like Apple, Spotify, Google, and even Pandora within minutes of finishing your recording. So join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. And if you follow the link in the show notes, that lets Buzzsprout know we sent you. And it helps you get a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan. And it helps support our show. In every episode, we like to serve up a special dish from the state that our crime takes place. So here's our resident Cajun Mama Ty to tell you what our true crime dish of the week is.
Hey guys, it's me, Cajun Mama Ty here. I got some fancy jazz music playing in the background instead of Cajun music today, because it's going with this awesome recipe I have. It's a fancy recipe. So, as you know, the Good Wives are talking about the Drew Peterson case, which is located in Illinois, and it's near Chicago. It's a place called Bowlington, Illinois, where the case is taking place, and they're talking about it. So what I decided to do was go to Illinois, go to Chicago, and pull up an awesome fancy recipe. So today I'm going to tell you about Chicago's chicken Vesuvio. It's an Italian recipe. It's named after Mount Vesuvio in Italy. And it's a signature dish in Chicago. It's very common in the Chicago area. It is a boned-in chicken baked with garlic, onions, Yukon potatoes, and it has white wine, and it has also peas or lima beans. It's so good, guys. I can't wait to tell you all about how to make it. So I'll see y'all in a few minutes. Let's go back to the Good Wives so you can listen about the case. Talk to you in a few minutes.
On January 6, 1954, Betty and Paul Peterson welcomed their son Drew into the world. They lived in Oak Park, Illinois, and Paul was a Marine, but he was also an alcoholic. So Drew was raised in a very strict household with strong discipline from his father, and it was instilled in him from an early age to have a strong drive to succeed. So that made him extremely motivated. So Drew, in his early 20s, he joins the United States Army's elite division of the military police.
And so, unfortunately, I feel like when there are people who are raised in kind of a destructive household, they take on some destructive behaviors. Yes. And unfortunately, that's what we see in Drew later on. So 2 years after joining the U.S. Army MP, Drew left the Army and joined the Bolingbrook Police Department in Chicago. And he worked his way up and actually became an undercover narcotics officer. And a friend of his at the time said that he was trained to be an expert liar.
Well, yeah, in undercover, yeah, they have to be. I mean, because those guys really do live a double life, like, I think of Johnny Bravo when this happens. I think about that, he got totally immersed in that mob world and had to do things. And, he really lived that life. And the other movie I think about when we talk about things like this is the movie with Jennifer Jason Leigh, which is one of my all-time favorites, called Rush. And they were narcotics cops. And, they had to, when they're sitting there and they're ready to go and buy some drugs from somebody, a lot of the dealers will make them shoot up right there in front of them because they want to trust them. They want to make sure they're not cops, So I can totally understand how a narcotics officer would be trained to be an expert liar. And I think a lot of times that's, I had wanted to do that. I wanted to become a narcotics cop myself. It was one of the things that I had thought about doing. And that was one of the reasons why I didn't. There were two real main reasons. One of them was being that I thought that if I ended up in a situation where I had to go to a house, that was a narcotics bust and there were children, I would lose my mind. And the other part was that a lot of times they end up addicted to drugs themselves because that's, to stay in the world and try to get the bus and things, they have to. And I was concerned about that, and how it would be. So, and you find that a lot of them are ones that end up losing their minds and doing things, that they wouldn't normally do because, they become.
Oh, you have me thinking, back in the day, one of my mom's cousins, he was arrested. He ended up doing like 10 years. They were selling drugs. And when he got in contact with my mom, he told her that there was an undercover cop that was pretty much hanging out with them for 3 years. And my mom said to him, like, you didn't know he was a cop? And he said, I never knew. He sniffed coke with us, shot at people. He did everything that we were doing. He said it never would have crossed my mind. He was with us for 3 years and we trusted him. So but it looks like Drew took that training that he used on the job and he applied it everywhere in life. At one point, he took advantage of his position and he started his own unauthorized investigation on somebody, and he actually got caught. And when he got caught, they fired him. He was charged with misconduct and a grand jury indicted him. But Drew, being Drew, fought the charges and won. He got his job back. He eventually became a sergeant. And this is the first time that we know of that he got away with the crime. And I think that only served to make him cockier and more confident than he already was.
Yeah, and see, that's the problem, is when, somebody loses their job for misconduct. Like, it's not like the police department didn't know he was fired. And, just because he wins a trial that he shouldn't have to go to jail, that doesn't mean you give him his job back and then give him a promotion.
Well, I mean, I don't think he got the promotion because of that. He worked his way up to being that. But here's the problem, is because he was found not guilty of it and he fought it and won, then the police department, then it looks like, they can be sued. Because if they don't give him his job back, he can sue them for wrongful termination. And he can sue them for, his pension and all these different things. So I understand where it comes from, but do I think it's right? No, I absolutely don't. And see, that's the thing that I think happens with some of these police officers. I know this is a popular subject right now, with police brutality and all the different things right now. And I think what happens is they take, a little becomes a lot and a lot becomes enormous, and so it starts with something small, and because the line is blurred, especially for undercover cops, the line is very, very blurred. In fact, I'm writing a crime series that deals with this. This is one of the things that I deal with in my series Sens, is that we have an undercover cop in the family, and the same thing, like he has a wife, he has kids, he goes home, he does his life, but when he's undercover, I mean, the lines are really blurred. And that's what we were writing, to show how that can happen, and how that impacts people. And I think that that's what happens here. And these cops, they get, out of control. And like you said, they get a slap on the wrist, and then, oh, well, I got a slap on the wrist for that. Well, why don't I try something else,
It's almost like when you were a kid, did your parents ever say, like, when they got mad, like, you damn kids, we give you an inch and you take a yard?
Yes. My mom used to say a mile, but
yeah.
Right.
That's what it reminds me of. Like, oh wow, I got away with that, so I can get away with something a little bit bigger this time.
Right.
Well,
right.
See, like, so what I guess don't understand or don't agree with, and I'm hoping this kind of changes, is that as a nurse, if I make a mistake, and even if it's unintentional, and I end up seriously harming somebody or accidentally killing somebody, especially in the pediatric world, I will get fired, I'll lose my license, and I will be sued, and the hospital will be sued. And, if they can prove that it was an accident or it wasn't directly my fault, I won't go to jail, but most likely my license is still going to be terminated.
I mean,
it will.
If you're found not guilty, though, Colleen, and if they find out through an investigation that it wasn't your fault, so your license would still be revoked?
It would be revoked or at least suspended for a long period of time. And
even if it's not your fault?
Yes, because it was still a mistake that I made.
But what if it's not a mistake you made? Because in this situation, I don't know what the misconduct was. I don't know what happened, and I'm not advocating for this at all. I'm just simply saying, if he went to a jury, the jury indicted him, then they went ahead and had a trial, and he's found not guilty, then that misconduct charge goes away because it's found to be not true. So would the same thing happen for you if you were a nurse and you were found through investigation that you didn't do anything? Your license would be reinstated.
No,
doctors have licenses reinstated.
So say what a very common example is that the doctor inputs an order wrong into the computer, and then I give that wrong dose. It's still my fault because it's my job to double check the safe and recommended dosages before I give that medication to a patient.
Sure. So see,
even though it's the doctor's fault, it's still my job to make sure what I'm doing is correct. And so I'd lose my license.
I think that's still different than this, even though I understand it. And I definitely do think that right now, and this is something we're working on, that Christina's working on, with what we've been talking over on our YouTube about the Gale Force, is these misconduct type of things. Like, a guy should not have 18 misconducts in 2 years or 3 years and still have a job. I agree with you. But in this situation, sadly, he's found not guilty. So, and I don't know what the charge of misconduct was for, so I only have to assume that there was enough evidence to not find him to be, guilty of this. So then he goes back to work. I mean, that's just the way it would be.
The reason I get what Colleen is saying is because what I couldn't really find details on what it was other than he conducted an unauthorized investigation on someone and got caught on the job. So if the job caught him doing something and they felt it was enough to fire him, I feel like even though he was found not guilty in court, that to me, that just means he had a great lawyer. But the job, they still caught him doing something that they felt was enough for him to be fired. So maybe that makes kind of the difference, is that the job was who originally caught him. So he did something wrong, even though when it went to court, he was found not guilty, which I guess is a loophole or whatever.
Well, and him becoming, over, time becoming sergeant, I don't agree with that either. If you're let go from a force and, you're not guilty, they don't have to directly offer him the job back, but if he applies, and whatever, but it's still, they know he did it.
Yeah.
They know his past history.
A lot of people seem to have known his past history.
Right.
But they also say he was extremely charming and he was extremely funny.
He's a sociopath. Of course he's charming.
So maybe that's how, I'm sure he used that as well to get around things that he did.
Oh, absolutely. And again, like I said, in the world of undercover, it is a very fine line that they walk, because some things are meant to happen because it's the only way they're going to get the case. So they bend the rule a little bit, which okay, so you think about that and you're like, all right, that's okay. But once you bend the rule a little bit, then how much further do you bend the rules? And that's where a crooked cop comes in, because I don't think most cops start off, even the ones that end up crooked, I don't think they start off thinking that's what they're going to do. I think, again, like we say, it's you give them an inch, they take a mile. I think it starts off as, well, I'm doing this so I get this case closed and it's in the right thing. And then, it becomes a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And a lot of the times I do think that police officers, especially in this type of lifestyle, a lot of it has to do with, they realize that they're putting their lives on the line for very little money. And when they start doing certain things, they can supplement a much higher living. And I think that means that maybe we should pay our police officers more money. I think that they put their lives on the line for absolutely pennies, just like I think our teachers should be paid more money, because they're shaping our youth and we pay them practically nothing. Firefighters too, they run into freaking buildings and they get paid jack crap.
And CNAs are one of the hardest working people ever.
Yes.
Right. And they get paid minimum wage.
That is part of corruption. We need to look at this too, because I think that these are parts of things that create an environment easy for corruption.
Discover unbeatable deals and convenience at your neighborhood family fare supermarkets. Score exclusive deals, earn rewards, join clubs, and clip digital coupons for extra savings all in one place. Our exclusive offers bring savings straight to your card. Explore a wide range of local products that support your community. With easy pickup and delivery options, saving time and grocery shopping has never been easier. Family Fare is all about making your grocery experience easy and affordable, and your one-stop shop for all your grocery needs. Family Fare in your neighborhood.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
So, right, so we'll see a lot, and I'll go back to being in the nursing setting, that CNAs and nurses, because of the high stress situations, there is an issue with them stealing medication and becoming a drug addict because they're misappropriating the medications. Like, so for narcotics, especially in the inpatient world, when it's like a liquid, if you have to waste, which a lot of times you do, you have to waste it in front of another nurse, and you have to put it in the sink with the water running, because there have been instances of nurses licking the sink to get that medication.
Right.
And so
or stealing medication. Yeah, I know. Yeah. This is the thing. Like, this is where it starts. And I think that this is the things that need to be looked at. It's not just, oh, they're bad cops. It's not. And I know you guys, I have a more, I back the Brothers in Blue a lot, and we have good friends that we have on our show and everything. So I tend to, back them more than anyone else here. I know that. But I also don't believe that bad cops or cops that make, egregious mistakes or are just, bad should just get away with it. I don't think that at all. And I don't want anybody to think that that's what I think. I just, a lot of times, I do give them a little more leeway based on what I know they have to do, So, I mean, I do. I feel like sometimes you have to look at what criteria the job entails. Just like an attorney who's defending a defendant, they may not feel that defendant is not guilty, but they still have to do their job, right? Just like Kirk Nurmi had to do for Jodi Arias. That's his job. And so do I think that there's an issue right now going on? Yes. Do I think that the police department needs to have a lot of reform? Sure. I think the justice system inside the court systems and the prison systems need even more. But I do think that you have to give some amount of leeway to them, because anybody could just claim misconduct on a police officer just because, so just because of the nature of their job. Think about all the times
we get that as, in all public health sector fields. As a nurse, exactly. I get it all the time. If you're not paying enough attention to my kid, I'm writing a report. And it's I gave your kid this equal time, or your kid is not serious. And I was giving CPR to another kid. I'm sorry I wasn't, I'm an hour late to give this medication, but I was trying to save a kid's life over here.
Right. And it can become a slippery slope, and that's bad. It can become a really slippery slope.
It's it's understaffing. I know a lot of police officers, and social workers, they're understaffed, overworked,
underpaid,
same with nurses. And so things fall through the cracks, and it gets more stressful as things go on. And then, you become so stressed and then angry and upset. And, when, when mistakes are made, it can, some, like we said, are for horrible reasons. Others, it can be, an unintentional thing, like with Richard Brooks. I know that cop didn't want to kill him.
I don't think so at all. No.
He didn't have a scope on his gun. He wasn't, aiming. No. He shot at a guy who shot his partner.
Right. And then if you watch the rest of that video, okay, so it's funny because I think it's interesting that they've cut out the part that they say is him kicking him, but because we don't see that in any of the body cams that have been released. I've watched several of them, a lot. And so you don't see that part. But what you do see is if you keep watching and you watch the longest body cam of all, you see him down there talking to him, CPR, begging him, come on, dude, come on, Mr. Brooks, come on, stay with me, breathe, Mr. Brooks, breathe with Mr. Brooks. So, and there's a lot of chaos going on. And they say about the eyewitnesses, here's where I got really irritated with the eyewitnesses, because the eyewitness that I saw, screaming out what he was saying, when you hear what he says, and you watch the whole thing, that eyewitness is actually lying when he says what he says. Because he's like, they didn't have any reason. No, they absolutely had a reason. They were just harassing him for no reason. No, he was drunk driving. That's an actual reason to be talking to them. And you watch the whole video, and all they're doing is all the different things that they're supposed to do. A field sobriety test. Will you take a breathalyzer? They weren't just harassing him to harass him like he was some random dude walking down the street.
Right.
They were called to the scene.
Right. Like what Cheryl said, that, Brooks shot the other officer in the head with a taser.
Right.
Like I said last night, that electricity, it's a non-lethal weapon, but depending on the person you were firing that at, if they have a cardiac condition, they can die. And getting shot in the head with a taser is a horrible, experience, and it's attacking somebody with their own weapon.
Right. Well, not to mention, it creates a whole nother environment of once you've tased a cop and he's down, then you can take his gun and you can shoot him. So it is a situation. But in this, this whole thing with Drew, coming back to that, what I'm saying here is we don't know what that misconduct was. I wish we did. But sometimes I do think they get frustrated in the fact of you've got to think about how many cases they actually have and how many cases actually end up going to court. Because on so many technicalities, people can get released for and not be prosecuted for something that these officers know that those people are guilty of, and because of one small this or one small that, they end up getting away. So then what does that tell officers? Well, then I need to make sure that they're gonna get prosecuted, right? Because that's their job. So then that's where the line blurs again, So but I'm not in any way condoning what Drew does, because he's just an awful shitty person. And I think that's one of the things that we need to look at when we're talking about police being good or bad apples. I don't think it has anything to necessarily do with the job. It has to do with the person. They're just shitty people. And usually you can see that across the board. They're not just shitty in their job, they're shitty, you know?
Well, right, like they're sociopaths, like Derek Chauvin. Sociopath.
Absolutely.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back.
What if you could be a true crime detective right from the comfort of your own home? Dispatch is an interactive serial mystery that unfolds over several months. Imagine the experience of an escape room in your own home, a new kind of escape called Dispatch. It's a subscription box that's a step apart from everyday entertainment. Better than a book, more engaging than television, think of it as an immersive mystery where you wear the detective hat. The story begins with your first delivery, or dispatch, if you will. In it, you'll find physical clues that lead you to the web and back to the real world to unravel a mysterious crime. Grab a friend, the whole family, and your thinking cap, and get ready to put your heads together for one mind-bending ride, as additional details are revealed with every package. Head over to our Instagram at www.instagram.com/truecrimewives and click on the link in our bio, then choose the dispatch button to start your own true crime adventure today.
Hey guys, it's me, Cajun Mama Ty. Yes, and I'm back with our Chicago's Chicken Vesuvio recipe. While the Good Wives take a break, I'm going to give you the ingredients and directions on this awesome recipe. You ready? Here we go. So we're going to first talk about the ingredients. You want to make sure you use bone-in, skin-on chicken pieces. So what I suggest is using chicken thighs or chicken legs. You use freshly ground black pepper and salt. We need olive oil, Yukon golden potatoes, onions, lots and lots and lots of garlic. We're going to use some dry white wine, chicken stock, or chicken broth, whatever is available. Freshly ground parsley, or you can use parsley in the can if you don't have any fresh parsley. Italian seasonings, butter, and more butter. And we're going to use some fresh frozen peas or fresh frozen baby lima beans. So the directions are kind of complicated, but if I can explain them a little bit better, it may be easier, and I can suggest what kind of pots and stuff to use. So the recipe is starting on the stove, going into the oven, and coming back to the stove again. So your pot really needs to be a pot that can handle both the stove and the oven. So my suggestion is a cast iron pot or some type of cast iron or anything that is able to go into both areas. So you want to make sure that while we're starting to cook, we want to put on our oven 400 degrees. You want to salt and pepper your chicken pieces. Make sure they're nice and dry. We want to take our cast iron pot, or skillet is what they're calling for, and put olive oil at the bottom. You want to add your chicken skin side down, and you want to brown your chicken really well on each side. You want to cook it maybe 5-7 minutes. Not a whole lot of cooking, because we want to make sure to cook our chicken in the oven. So you want to get most of the cooking done in the oven. So we just want to brown it really good. Once we brown that, we want to take just the chicken out and set that aside. With the jus from the chicken, which jus is a French word in an Italian recipe, but I call it jus because it's the leftover, the sauce from the chicken once it's been cooking. So you want to keep that in there because we're going to add our potatoes, our onion, our garlic. And we're going to cook our onions until they're really translucent, until they're really soft and you can see through them. You want your potato wedges to start to be browned on all the sides. Usually about 5 to 7 minutes. Then you want to take all your veggies out. So you want to take out all your onions and your potatoes and take that out and put that aside. So in your skillet, you should just have the sauce from the chicken and kind of the sauce from the onions and stuff. So we're going to add the wine to that, and we want to decrease that. We want to make it go down by half. So what we're doing there is we're burning off the alcohol to kind of take that alcohol taste out of the wine and just have the wine taste into the food. So you want to deglaze the pan. Then once you have that done, you want to put the potatoes and the onions in the pan. You want to put the chicken on top of the potatoes and onions. You want to add the chicken stock to it, the parsley, the Italian season. Stir and combine it all together. Cover it. Put it in the oven and cook it for about 45 minutes. You want to make sure that your chicken is completely cooked all the way through. Once that is done, you remove the skillet, you take it out. You want to take all your veggies and your chicken out and leave just the sauce in. And we'll take that sauce and we'll add some butter until it's really nice and smooth. You want to put a little pinch of salt, pepper to taste. And then you want to add your peas or your baby lima beans to it and cook it for about 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, until your peas are nice and soft. Then when you serve the dish, you want to take your plate and you want to put your vegetables at the bottom. Your potatoes at the bottom, your potatoes, your onions, your garlic at the bottom, your chicken on top of that. And then you pour your sauce with your peas or your baby lima beans on top. And that is chicken Vesuvio. So, like I said before, it's an Italian dish. It's a signature dish in Chicago. And the Good Wives are going to go back to talking about the Drew Peterson case. See y'all later.
Ty, another great recipe. For the full recipe that was shared tonight, join us at our exclusive membership club at www.patreon.com/truecrimewives.
Those that knew Drew well said that he always had a really cocky and arrogant personality. He was the life of the party. Drew was the funniest guy. He was the best looking. He was the smartest, the most charming. He was the best cop. So I think it's safe to say that Drew Peterson has a very inflated opinion of himself. But for some women, well, I guess the reason is because of this opinion. He walked around and he was so charming. Women seemed to take to him. And that worked out great for him because what everybody that knows him says is that Drew always needed to have a woman by his side.
I was going to say, must be something in the last name Peterson, because I know another Peterson that you could use this almost exact description that we're going to talk about in a couple weeks.
I'm just saying that all those symptoms are personality traits of, and I always think it's annoying and people don't understand, it's the personality, antisocial personality disorder.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that they're like hiding in their room under the bed. That's the exact opposite, is that they are the cockiest, most arrogant son of a bitch, and they are completely just egotistical assholes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so that's this guy to a T.
And it's not to say that every guy who's funny or charming or, life of the party is a sociopath. But in this situation, it is very relevant to those type of people. They are really good at being chameleons and being what everyone needs in a situation.
Ted Bundy.
Yeah, I mean Ted Bundy, several serial killers, even Charlie Manson. Now Charlie Manson didn't specifically kill anybody himself, but he convinced many others to do so. He's a sociopath. He's got that charismatic personality that attracts people to him, and that's why they're attracted to them. That's why they're so dangerous, because they can charm their way in and out of anything, And so, like just like him being able to charm himself out of misconduct, obviously. So he was married to his high school sweetheart, Carol Brown, in 1974. They had 2 kids together, their sons, Stephen and Eric. And I think we're going to talk about Stephen a little bit later. But Drew's habit was women, and he couldn't break it. So in 1980, Carol divorced Drew after finding out that he had been cheating on her. And in 1982, Drew married wife number 2, Vicki Connolly. And they were married for 10 years, and Vicki's daughter lived in the house with them until she turned 17. And Vicki has now told the police that there was a history of domestic abuse against her and her daughter by Drew, and that during the years they were married, Drew had made threats that he could kill her and make it look accidental.
Right. I mean, he's got the knowledge. He easily able to do. And he is, unfortunately, just a guy who always wants that woman by his side. And so at one point that Vicki was in a really bad car accident, and there were suspicions that Drew had tampered with the brakes on her car. So very similar to, the interview that we have, that, a police officer has been trying to find a way to kill their wife.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that's it. They know how to get away with it. It reminds me of Dexter, where he he's out there serial killing, but then the thing comes across his desk, and what does he do? He changes the evidence so it doesn't look like it's him. So it's just God. So she gets in this really bad accident, and of course he denies all the allegations of abuse and cheating. What guy do you know that's abusive is going to be like, yeah, totally abusive, it's all right, no problem? No, he's totally going to deny it. So Vicki files for divorce when she finds out that Drew, again, what is the pattern here? He's cheating on her, and he's dating a woman named Kathleen Savio. And the divorce was finalized on February 18th, 1982. Now, here's the thing that I think is really interesting about these types of guys. My husband's always said that, she's someone's ex for a reason, or he's someone's ex for a reason. These women and these men that marry these serial marriers, it's like the people that have 5 and 6 and 7 wives or husbands. And I'm like, did you not think about the fact that maybe 5 of them didn't work out already? You're number 6. That it's not a good track record here.
Right. Do you think you're special? Do you think you're
special?
different?
You're gonna change him or her?
Yeah, they're always going to change them.
Right. My mom used to tell me, once a cheater, always a cheater. And if he's willing to cheat on you with someone else, then he's willing to cheat on, that person. If he's willing to cheat on his wife with you, then he's willing to cheat on you with someone else. Don't marry the dude.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
I don't know.
And also, you lose them how you get them. So if you're with a married man and then he leaves his wife to marry you, chances are several years down the line you'll be in the same boat.
Right, he's gonna trade you in for another hottie. You know, like
it was interesting. Someone said that each marriage he went about 10 years younger.
What a creep.
Yeah,
such a creep.
So Kathleen Savio was an accountant in her 20s when she married Drew Peterson on May 3rd, 1992, just a few months after his divorce from Vicky was finalized. Who does that sound like? Could that sound like a Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow? I don't know.
Back to back.
Right. So, but Drew, she was described as her prince. She was in love with him. He showered her with gifts and trips. Of course, he's wooing you, you idiot. In 1993, Kathleen gives birth to their son Thomas, and Christopher was born in 1994. Like she's got this fairy tale ideal of what they're doing. Oh, he left his wife for me. How sweet of him. No, he left his. What did you just say to yourself? He left his wife for you. What do you were able to make him leave his wife, and you don't think that's going to happen to you?
No, Kathleen's fairy tale with Drew turned into hate in 2001 when Kathleen found a letter. And that's the way she found out that her 47-year-old husband was cheating on her with 17-year-old Stacey Kales.
17 years.
17!
Yes. So Kathleen confronted him and Drew became violent. She kicked him out of the house. She filed for divorce. And a few months later, he moved into a house with Stacey that was basically down the street. Now, Drew said it was to be close to his kids, but those that knew him said it was more a way for Drew and Stacey to taunt and hurt Kathleen even more.
I mean, it's just so disgusting.
And that's what I mean. It's not because he's a police officer. It's because he's a gross human being.
And everyone that met Stacey said that she was amazing, but her issue was that she believed everything that Drew told her. So Kathleen was, yeah, exactly. And Kathleen was the bad guy.
He's got 2 children who are about the same age as her. That's gross.
Mm-hmm.
Gross, gross, gross. And it's not like, a 60-year-old and a 30-year-old or 40-year-old. No, this is a 50-year-old man and a 17-year-old girl. She is a minor.
Where the hell are her parents?
Well, from what I read, her parents were very concerned. They said that, I think it was actually said that Drew met her when she was still 16, and by the time she turned 17, he had put her into an apartment that was fully furnished, and that was really concerning to her parents. But Stacey was in love, and she believed everything Drew said, and she thought he was a great man.
Jesus. And I'm sure he tried to impress them or threatened them or whatever. It just, he's one of those guys that makes me think that, like, he's sitting at dinner and, like, turns and leans over to the father and makes an inappropriate comment, and like, just like, I'm going to do whatever I want with her, like that's how is the father going to fight a police officer, right? Because he's just going to, so I just feel like slime ball. God, what a slime ball.
Right, it's so gross.
Horrible.
And
horrible.
So, in July 2002, Drew actually broke into Kathleen's house and held Kathleen on the stairs at knife point for hours. And it's reported that between 2002 and 2004, there were over 18 domestic incidents between Drew and Kathleen that the police responded to. And that the officers that reported or responded usually knew Drew and they would protect him and not arrest him. And
that just makes me so pissed.
Right, 18 calls in 2 years, and because you know him, you protect him, and that's why there's a problem there.
Yes,
and
I agree.
Well, to take it even further, if you guys are upset now, Kathleen even wrote to the assistant state's attorneys in November of 2002. She wrote about the abuse, and she told them that Drew was going to kill her. She begged for their help, and she never received a response. And then their divorce was finalized on October 10th, 2003, but they still hadn't come to an agreement on custody of the boys, an agreement on the house, or on the finances.
Oh, so
He's such a piece of shit.
It's such a piece of shit. 8 days after the divorce was finalized, 49-year-old Drew married wife number 4, 19-year-old Stacy. Their first child together, Anthony, was born in 2003, and Stacy was going to school for her nursing degree. Drew had visitation with his sons from his marriage to Kathleen. So on March 1st, 2004, Drew brought the kids back home to Kathleen after a visit with them. He said that Kathleen did not answer the door when he arrived. Oh my God, you know what? I did hear this story. I just didn't realize it was this one.
Yeah.
I didn't know the name. I once I got to this part, I did hear this story, you know. So he said that Kathleen did not answer the door when he arrived. Kathleen's body was later found in her dry bathtub. A coroner's jury ruled Kathleen's death as an accidental drowning. In a dry fucking bathtub? Get the... But the coroner's jury included a police officer who knew Drew and personally assured the other jurors that Drew would never hurt Kathleen, just not the 18 other times that we've been called out to the house. No, paying attention to those. And that he's a good man. And Drew also had Stacy as an alibi. Oh, Stacy.
Right,
okay.
the wife.
The wife who believes everything that he does.
Well, and was 17 when they were dating, and she left his wife for her. But think how fucked that is. That a police officer who has been working with Drew and knows Drew was on the jury. Conflict of interest. Where was anything about that?
And then the rest of the coroner's jury just took his word for it. Like, oh, well, Bob or whoever said Drew is a great guy. He never hurt his wife. Okay, accidental death. No problem. Keep it moving. Next. Like, it was nothing.
It just blows my mind that that conflict of interest was allowed to stand, and that, you know, potentially that jury doesn't get to hear about the 18 times.
Well, this is a coroner's jury, so it's not a trial. It's a coroner's jury. So it's what the coroner, you know, they have to go through a certain number of people to when they have to determine whether it's an accidental drowning or not. So we're talking about that, not like a jury, you know.
Right.
But still, like, everybody just takes his word for it. Yeah, okay, Bob said he's good. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, pay no attention to the fact that he was called out. There was 18 different things, and he held his wife at knife point, and no, oh, geez, that's Kathleen's fault. She's a bitch. You know, like, seriously.
Yeah.
This pisses me off.
Turned everyone to Drew's side there.
Yeah. So in 2005, Stacy gave birth to her and Drew's second child, Lacey. Like, this guy is just knocking up the girls over and over again. And I think that's another way to keep them tied to him, you know, because, you know, that's what they use. They use the children. We've seen that in the Betty Broderick story that they're doing right now on the second season of Dirty John, which we will be getting into in our season 3 of The Good Wise Guide to True Crime. We're going to cover that case. But yeah, I mean, you see this all the time. This is something that happens between parents constantly. And guys that are like this, they like to keep their women, you know, pregnant and at home, and, you know, no, they don't like them to have a lot of friends, and, you know, all these different things. And it just it's so effing pisses me off.
It's a method of control. You know, especially if he knows that he's not going to be with the women for longer than 5 to 10 years from some way or another, then guess what? He's got 2 kids with every single wife, so he will always be in control of that wife.
Their life. Right. It's all about control. It's exactly it. So Stacy,
I think it was Vicky. I'm pretty sure it's Vicky that's the only one they didn't have kids together. She already had a daughter from a previous relationship. So Drew and Stacy's 2 kids were babies number 5 and 6 for Drew.
Yeah, right. So Stacy adopts Kathleen's boys, and she loved them as if they were like her own kids, you know. and things seemed good by all appearances, and Stacy was so close to getting her nursing degree. Now, where have we heard this before? We just did this in the last case we did, which was Durst. And I think that's part of what plays into this is like, you know, these girls, they marry these men and they think, oh, okay, well, he's so nice, he's so this, he did this, he gave me gifts, he did blah, 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 oh, how wonderful. And then you get into the marriage and, you know, the women start wanting more, you know, because just being married and being a housewife or whatever, that's not enough for them, you know, so they decide, oh, I want to do more, just like Kathleen Durst, you know, she wanted to go and get her doctor's degree, you know, and he didn't want that. So he tries to tighten the grip, and when they don't respond to tightening the grip, then that's what happens. It goes bad.
But think, so Kathleen Durst disappears.
Yeah.
She's gone. We don't know what happens to her. And unfortunately, this is what we see with Stacy.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back. So you often hear and see us Good Wives sipping a glass of wine. And one of our favorite wine clubs is California Wine Club. California Wine Club only works with small wineries, and they hand select 2 bottles of wine each month and ship them straight to your door. Now, you don't even have to go to the liquor store to have a sip of bubbly with us. How cool is that?
We absolutely love hearing from our listeners, and we'd like to invite you to send us a question for us to answer or a case you'd like us to cover. You can drop us an email at goodwivesdish@gmail.com, and we might feature it in one of our next episodes and give you a shout out. Right now, we are also hosting our #LoveWins Scholarship Fund. If you're a college-age student who would like to enter, send us a 30-second video telling us about how you lead with love. Email your entry to us with a little bio about yourself and your educational goals. And if you'd like to learn more about our #LoveWins campaign for peace, merchandise, or donation details, go check out our informational video on youtube.com/murderbydesign. We look forward to hearing from you.
On Sunday, October 28th of 2007, Stacy vanished, and her sister Cassandra reported her missing early the next morning. Always interesting that it's never the husband that reports them missing, which says a lot. So Drew claimed that Stacy called him at 9 o'clock Sunday night and told him that she was leaving him for somebody else. He also claimed she told him that she left her car at the airport.
Now, keep in mind, this is a young woman who has her own 2 children, plus the 2 that she adopted. Everyone that has talked about her being a truly amazing young lady. I don't know any mother that's leaving her kids with the father to take off with another man.
Well, and she's been with him since she was 17. Like this, you know, she's barely has any life experience outside of her husband.
She's about to be a nurse.
Right. She's not a flight, like she's not disappearing, you know, to disappear.
Yeah, I know. I think it's so interesting when they do that, when that's the story, like, and with everyone you talk to, they're like, no, she was an amazing mom. She loved her kids. She would never leave her kids. Like, and you're thinking to yourself, exactly. So where the hell is she? Oh, I don't know. She just took off to wherever with some dude, you know, like, why is that always the story? Like, do you not think that that's going to be a bad story? Like, seriously, come on now.
Cuff, Carol Baskin.
Right? Oh,
I even think in the Chris Watts case, there were a couple times that I felt he was trying to insinuate that Shannon may have left with a man. There were a couple comments he made, like,
that was his story.
Yeah, the friends of hers that I know said this, but, you know, I don't know about the friends that I don't know, like trying to, you know, insinuate that she lived a double life.
Right. Well, that's one of the things that always has bothered me about the Watts case is I really don't think that he intended to kill his daughters. I don't know what happened. My guess is one of them saw him, you know, do what he did to their mom, and then he's like, oh crap, you know, because it's the same situation like with Josh Powell, you know, where he kills his wife and he's got these kids and eventually kills the kids because they start talking about shit, you know, and kills himself. Like, I think Chris Watts was the same situation. I don't think that he intended to kill the girls. I think he was just going to kill Shanann, make it look like she had run off somewhere with somebody and go on about his life. But and that's why I truly believe those girls in the Watts case, I think they went into those vats alive. I don't think that they were dead. I don't think he killed them before he put them in there. I don't think he could. And I think he's such a piece of shit too. And he's another one of those that's just a sociopathic liar. Like,
Well, like with Carol Baskin and Don Lewis. So Don Lewis, his car at the airport. So Drew is trying to say that, yeah, Stacy left her car at the airport. She told me she was leaving her at the airport so she could ditch, be with some other boy.
However, a pastor from Stacy's church, Reverend Neil Shorey, reported that Stacy had confided in him that Drew had killed Kathleen and that she was afraid of her husband.
I mean, how are you all supposed to feel? You were 17. He kills his wife for you. I would be pretty fucking panicked.
Yeah.
And he has you give the alibi, so I'm sure she was panicked.
And so when Stacy disappeared, all suspicions fell on Drew and led to more questions about Kathleen's death. And so Kathleen's body, was exhumed in November 2007 for forensic examination. Around this time, Drew announced that he was retiring as a Bolingbroke police sergeant and that the police pension board voted to allow Drew to collect his pension of over $6,000 a month. And so Kathleen's family has requested that Dr. Michael Baden, a former New York City...
It's a popular name these days.
Yes. And he was a former New York City medical examiner, to perform the forensic exam on Kathleen's body.
Dr. Baden concluded that Kathleen died of drowning after she was placed in the bathtub following a struggle. Kathleen had an extensive amount of bruises and scrapes all over her back, chest, abdomen, and face. She had a large unexplained wound described as a gash on her head. And the state's attorney announced on February 21st, 2008, that a forensic pathologist had determined that Kathleen was murdered.
What does this sound like? This sounds almost exactly like frickin' Stacy Stites.
Yes.
Which is another issue with a shitty ass, guy who is a police officer who thinks he's a badass. Oh, these just piss me off.
I mean, finding, wives in bathtubs.
Right.
Just with no water.
Or clothes on. That's my favorite. She had clothes on. Stacy Stites had clothes on. She was half dressed. Like, okay, that makes sense. So throughout all of 2008, Drew's cocky attitude was displayed for everyone to see on television. He gave interviews, held a dating game contest, got engaged to a
cocky motherfucker.
Told you, it's just absolutely maddening.
Got engaged to a new young lady, Christina Rains. Like, who thinks this is a good idea? He's on trial for murder of his third wife, and his fourth wife is missing. You know what? He's a good catch.
I'm gonna get engaged.
I'm gonna get engaged. Let's
spend my life with him.
Then the engagement ended, and Christina claimed that the engagement was nothing but a publicity stunt done to meet Drew in the media. Bullshit. It seems that Drew not only relished being in the spotlight no matter what the reason, but he would also go to extremes to get there. So all the shenanigans are being done while Stacy is still missing. And later he would do a radio interview from the county jail, which led to the judge at his trial limiting Drew's access to the media. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of freaking O.J. Simpson writing a book that's called If I Did It. Like, okay, like really, if you did it, this is how I would do it, which is exactly how it was done. Oh, get the hell out of here.
Right. It's like, somebody take your telephone away, somebody take your pen away. Who manages you? Your lawyer should be taking away your access to media because you are a horrible person for them to defend because you just make their job 10 times harder.
I mean, there was a newscast he did. I think it was with Shepard Smith, and he agreed to speak to him only if he kept the topic to the dating game contest. And here's Drew all cocky and smiling, and the journalist, I believe it's Shepard Smith, he starts questioning him about Stacy's disappearance and Kathleen, and Drew looks at him and he's like, Shepard, I told you I wouldn't speak to you unless you kept to topic. That's not what we agreed to talk about. And he responds back, and Drew just basically takes the mic off and he's like, oh, well, sorry, buddy, I'm not gonna, like, he's just so cocky. I just want every video, I'm like, I wish I could just reach into the screen and just choke him. It is horrible.
So a Will County grand jury indicts Drew Peterson, and he was arrested for the murder of Kathleen Savio on May 7th, 2009. His bail was set at $20 million, and he was placed in the Will County Jail. In July 2010, a judge ruled that statements from Kathleen and Stacy were hearsay and could not be used at Drew's trial. But in April 2012, thank God, an appellate court ruled that there were 8 statements from the 2 women that could be used during trial. So during Drew's murder trial, a witness took the stand on August 22nd, 2012, and testified that Drew offered him $25,000 to hire someone to kill Kathleen Savio.
Well, I don't think that he had some stranger do it. I think he did it, but the fact that it goes to show that he wanted her to die.
He wanted her to die. Yep, he's hunting, hitman. So hey, whatever.
And so on September 6, 2012, Drew Peterson was found guilty of killing Kathleen, and in February of 2013, he was sentenced to 38 years in prison. But this is not the last time we hear from him. 2 years later on February 9th, 2015, Drew was charged with attempting to put a hit on the prosecutor in his murder trial, James Glasgow. Idiot, you are in jail. What are you doing? This isn't just like another prisoner in jail. You are putting a hit out for the attorney.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Are you struggling to lose weight and keep it off? Tired of wasting time and money on starvation diets that lead to more frustration and stress? If there was a weight loss solution that could actually work for you, would you try it? Then head to Golo.com.
I'm Steve. I lost 138 pounds in 9 months on Golo.
I'm Amber. I've lost 128 pounds with Golo.
If you're ready to take back control of your life, head to Golo.com now and see how Golo can work for you. That's Golo.com.
My sleep is way better. My inflammation has gone way down. Golo saved my life. I was way overweight. That's what sent me down the path. I wanted to make sure and live for my kid.
I have literally tried everything. I was on the verge of getting gastric bypass surgery, and I saw the Golo commercial, and it was the last thing I tried because it worked.
Join over 2 million people who found a better way to lose weight with Golo. Your healthier and happier life begins at Golo.com. That's Golo.com. Again, Golo.com.
Yeah, I mean, what an asshole. So an inmate told and even wore a wire to capture the evidence against Drew. So in May 2016, Drew was found guilty of solicitation of murder and solicitation of murder for hire, and an additional 40 years was added to his sentence. Now, Drew Peterson was originally incarcerated in Menard County, Illinois. He was then moved to the Federal Correctional Institute in Terre Haute, Indiana. He was there less than a month when another prisoner attacked him. Drew filed several appeals, but on December 21st, 2017, his conviction was upheld by the Illinois Supreme Court. He was released from federal custody in December 2019 and moved to a state facility that is not being disclosed for security reasons. No, really? Like,
he's a cop.
Please, somebody. No, I'm just kidding. I don't wish anybody dead, but geez.
Right, he's a piece of garbage.
Piece of garbage.
And unfortunately, this is where this story kind of pauses.
Mm-hmm. Except for Drew's son, right. Stephen Peterson.
Right. When we said we were going to talk about him again later, well, here we are. So
Yes. Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back. Every great podcast needs a great website. Currently, our mother company, Mad Ginger Entertainment, is building their website using Bluehost. Bluehost is one of the best and most affordable web hosting platforms available. Plans start as low as $2.95 a month, and you can even integrate it with WordPress. So if you need your own website or affordable web hosting, grab our discount link in the description and get your podcast a bigger presence online at low costs.
Hey guys, it's me, Cajun Mama Ty here with, you guessed it, the French word of the day. Yep, I don't have any really Cajun music playing in the background because I decided that I just wanted to do something short and sweet. So today's French word is a little 3-letter word, and it is used as a term of endearment. And that word is chat. S-H-A, chat. It is used when we see something cute or we see something beautiful, and we refer to it as chat. Chat, that's precious. Chat, that's beautiful. So when you see something beautiful or precious today, try and use the French word like the Cajun people do and say, "Chat, mon ami, you so cute." Y'all have a good day and see you later. Back to the Good Wives talking about the Drew Peterson case.
So Drew Peterson's son is brought into this by looking at the fact that he demonstrated poor judgment during the Illinois State Police investigation into the disappearance of Stacy Peterson, his father's first wife. So Stephen didn't tell authorities that his father gave him $236,800 in uncashed checks shortly after Stacy disappeared, and told him he would have to take care of his siblings if anything happened to him. So,
well, and so he didn't disclose that information to authorities,
right.
And Stephen is a police officer.
Yeah.
And so they found that for him to be concealing that kind of information to his, not just authorities in general, but to his own, department, that they're not okay. So what ends up happening, that is also not all, because Stephen also took 3 weapons from his father to prevent them from being seized when law enforcement agents searched Peterson's Bolingbrook home in the days after Stacy's disappearance. And so Drew was also charged with owning an assault rifle with an illegal short barrel, but that case was later dismissed. So Stephen is hiding weapons for his father. So showing not good judgment as a police officer.
Right.
It makes you wonder what they would have found if they would have had those 3 weapons, because
right.
They didn't end up ever seizing them, right?
No. And it, if they had known that, hey, if Stephen had said, my dad gave me over $200,000 in checks,
right.
in the days after her disappearance, he said if he was, arrested, I'd have to take care of my siblings. And he asked me to take some guns from his home. I think the police department would have been even more interested in searching that home and searching for Stacy. And so and this is before, so this all happens before he gets charged with the hit on the prosecutor. But basically, so Stephen is raising his siblings. 2 of the siblings, they were just a little bit younger. And some of them were still in grade school. So you got to be, at least admire him for taking that on and taking care of his siblings. But he's living basically because he gets thrown off the force, and he also files a $10 million
lawsuit against the Oak Brooks Police Department over his termination. So see, this is where I say, Colleen, like literally, like this would have happened in the first place if his dad had been, not allowed back on the force. So this is the thing that happens, but he's basically living off his dad's pension, which I don't know if he's still getting it now because they were talking about stripping it away from them because of the murder convictions. And now he's got, not only does he have those murder convictions, but he also has, the hit for the prosecutor. Oh my God. And the guy, he's not going to be eligible for parole until he's 93, but that's again before he got these extra charges. So he's, geez. And before he received, Drew received his punishment, he ranted for nearly 40 minutes against the people he believes have done him and his family wrong, including Oak Brooks officials. And he's like, my son lost his job when I was illegally charged with an illegal weapons charge. He got tied up in it without cause. He lost his job and he lost his income. What do you mean without fucking cause? He took money from you. He hid guns for you. What do you mean without cause? This guy, the narcissism, just unbelievable. So
extreme narcissism.
While Drew Peterson sits in prison for the premeditated murder of his third wife, Kathleen Savio, justice has been fully served. It's presumed that his fourth wife, Stacy, was murdered by him as well, but there still have been no charges in that case. Stacy is still considered a missing person to this day. Drew's stepbrother, Thomas Morphy, testified that he helped Drew carry a heavy blue container out of Drew's house and into Drew's GMC truck. He believes that was Stacy's body and that the blue container and that it was disposed of after Drew dropped him off that night. Her family is still searching and started a website to help find her, which is http://searchingforstacypeterson.com/. They also believe that Drew Peterson disposed of Stacy's body on the evening of October 28, 2007, and they will not rest until she is found.
Right. So in this blue barrel, there was also, there's an undisclosed third person involved with this, that their information hasn't been disclosed, but he says that Drew told the man that the blue barrel contains chlorine, but after the fact, he realized that it was probably also Stacy's body, and that they believe that blue barrel was placed into a dam, into a river or lake I think it's a river in Chicago. And so there have been many, many searches of this river, and they did at one point find a blue barrel, but it was empty. And so they don't know if that blue barrel was, a decoy or if it maybe once contained her body. They did actually, I believe, find human remains in that river, but they weren't Stacy's.
I think I said something like it leads them to believe that they're really not sure how many human remains might be down there.
Lovely. So maybe he killed more people. Who freaking knows? Other girlfriends.
Right, they don't know.
Prostitutes,
and,
who knows?
And so
that's why I wonder about the 3 guns, because it's not like he would have used 3 separate guns on Stacy if he did kill her with a gun. Mm-hmm. So why did he need 3 guns to be hidden? What did he do with those guns?
Right.
So are there other bodies that they're going to pull up from there that would have matched,
Right, it's a high-speed river, so, the likelihood that they would find a full body, especially after many years, extremely unlikely.
Yeah. And if it's a high-speed river, it definitely could have pulled, the lid off of that blue barrel and dragged the bodies out. Down. And who knows where, if she gets caught on something, then she won't float, So.
Right, and there were, some questions was she cut up into pieces, or if her full body was there? But they had said that the river, I believe, goes at such a speed that for such a long period of time that it could have taken her, thousands of miles down the river.
This guy isn't even good looking.
No, he's not. He is.
He's hideous. Why would all these women want to be with this douche nozzle. He's so gross.
Yeah. And he's a narcissistic antisocial personality disorder he's not attractive, and maybe because he exudes this confidence and kind of control, and then once they get too close he goes full control, and then they don't know what to do after that because they feel trapped. I don't know, but I would never look at this man, especially I am a young woman. I am young. I would never look at this old ugly ass man and be like, yeah.
Even when he was young, he's ugly. He is not a good-looking man. Like,
well, I'm sure all the gifts and trips and stuff that, they all
but
showered helps.
I don't know. And it's not to say that I'm like, shallow and I want to, but seriously, like, when you think about that, you're like, okay, if these young girls are going for this old man, you think of like George Clooney, you're thinking like, he's gotta be an attractive old man, right? Like, and then you pull up his picture and you're like, oh, this guy is so ugly.
It's kind of funny. I feel like a lot of not great, of the older senior police officers who aren't great have the same mustache.
Like I thought of like a bad 70s porno.
Oh yes, and they have Rob Lowe playing him in the Lifetime movie about him. Like, oh my God.
I'm sure he was thrilled with that.
Like Rob Lowe, like, I mean, he's a pretty good looking guy. He's got to play this ugly. Oh, good Lord. Why do we?
I'm sure Drew saw that and was like, oh, they picked the perfect guy to portray me.
Right? Like, oh, Rob's such a, oh, geez, what a bastard. I'm sorry. Like, it just makes me mad. No, his kids aren't bad looking, which means that, that's because the girls were pretty, but wow.
I'm wondering, when we talked to Todd Matthews, who's the former head of NAMIS, what his opinion is on, this case, since technically Stacey is still considered a missing person.
Yeah, I think that's a good one that we could absolutely talk about. Who else I want to talk about is one of the experts on body language and patterns of speech, like Peter Hyatt or a couple of different other people that we know that deal in that. I think that's something I'm going to ask them about because I'm fascinated by that. I just watched one on Carol Baskin's, like these 4 guys. It's that's what they do. I think it's called the behavioralpanel.com or something like that. And it's 4 experts in this field. And they just like ripped apart like everything that she says or does and all the appearances she's made and everything. They literally break it down like piece by piece of how they can tell that she's lying about this and that. I mean, it's pretty interesting. I find that shit totally interesting. That's the stuff that I think is super, like, how do you know? And we deal with that with Stephen David Lampley too. I mean, he, does How to Catch a Liar, so, but, I just swear, I mean, I had not looked him up. Like, it's so funny. Like, I had not looked him up to look at this case. And like I said, I didn't realize it was this case till I heard the whole thing about him knocking on the door and everything. I was like, oh man, I watched a Dateline or something about this a long time ago. So I did know this case, but
another thing that's so interesting to me about this case is like with Carol Baskin, I mean, it was Stacey's disappearance that drew the attention back to Kathleen. So, I mean, Drew did it himself in this case, but same thing. These people participated in documentaries, and then a case came up.
She's like, I don't understand why people are after me. What?
So it's like they do it to themselves and draw attention to something else that they did, and that opens up this whole
Durst too thinks he's so freaking smart to participate in this with people he knows think he's guilty. Like, he knew that Jarecki thought he was guilty because Jarecki made the movie about him. Like, are you serious? Like, why would you do that? Why would you?
They're too cocky. That's the thing. They think they're such good liars. They think they're such good liars. They're so cocky. They feel that they're getting away with it. They've gotten away with it for so long, and they can continue to get away with it and scam and lie some more.
It's like, all I have to do is tell my version of the story, and people will believe me, and that will be it.
That makes me so mad. It's so ridiculous. Well, guys, we've got a lot coming forward as we finish up season 2. We're going to end the season talking about another famous Peterson case, one that I am 100% is, a no-brainer of guilt, but Colleen is not so convinced. And so we're going to do a head-to-head with me presenting the side for guilty, and she's going to present the side for not guilty, and Cristina will be the person in the middle that decides who presented the better story and what she thinks in the end of whether she believes he's guilty or not. So we'll be barreling down the way towards that. And with this interview with this case that we've done here with Drew Peterson, like I said, we do have 2 interviews. They're not specifically about Drew Peterson. They're about similar stories. And Julie Burnett is actually currently writing a novel about these types of stories, along with her own story that we're helping her with. And that is, her experience with a police officer who tried to murder her and make it look like suicide. And she believes that he murdered his first wife and made it look like suicide. So it's an interesting story. There's a lot we have coming down the pipeline, guys. You're going to want to keep tuning back in.
Along with our Loved Ones campaign, we are also launching an organization that is tentatively called the Gale Force. The term Gale Force is used to describe a very strong, fierce wind. The acronym GALE stands for Good Apples of Law Enforcement. Usually, when we hear about any incident involving wrongdoing by a member of law enforcement, they're generally referred to as bad apples, which leaves people asking, where are all the good apples? We know they exist, but we don't get to hear from them enough. That's where the Gale Force comes into play. The Gale Force would be a safe space for those good apples to unify and take action against the bad apples. We believe that good outnumbers bad in all aspects of life, and those numbers are where that gale force of fierceness and strength come from. When good unifies, bad will always lose. There are issues in the law enforcement profession that need to be rectified, and we believe that the best way to resolve them starts from within. There's what we call the blue wall of silence, which is an informal rule among police officers not to report on a colleague's misconducts or crimes. It's time to tear that wall down. Officers are often punished if they break that wall of silence. An example of this is Officer Cariel Horn, who we've been hearing a lot about recently. Back in November 2006, she stopped another officer from putting a suspect in a chokehold. She was fired after 19 years on the job and lost her pension because she intervened. Also, the stigma that goes along with members of law enforcement seeking out mental health care needs to end. Studies have shown that members of law enforcement are less willing to seek care because of embarrassment and shame. Keep in mind, this is a high-stress profession with a higher suicide risk than other professions. There have also been some studies that indicate that if an officer receives support from their unit, they're much more likely to seek help when it's needed. We believe the good members of law enforcement far outweigh the bad, but we also believe that the system needs to be changed to give them a louder voice without fear of retribution or desertion by their colleagues or superiors. We hope the Gale Force can be a first step in giving these law enforcement officers from all over the country support and a way to come together and say, we will not stand by and allow anyone to tarnish the profession that we have dedicated ourselves to. We're going to clean the barrel, one bad apple at a time.
Thanks so much for tuning in and dishing true crime with the Good Wives.
Don't forget to join our Patreon member club to get the full recipe shared tonight, inside documents and pictures from the case, bonus mini podcast episodes, live YouTube discussion, and an exclusive invitation to our discussion group on Facebook, and get some amazing Good Wives merch.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at True Crime Wives. And for more inside information, check us out on YouTube at Murder by Design, where we're currently talking about a few different true crime cases, from bullying murders to serial killers. We dish it all.
Have a good one from the Good Wives, serving up true crime, one dish at a time.
Are you struggling to lose weight and keep it off? Tired of wasting time and money on starvation diets that lead to more frustration and stress? If there was a weight loss solution that could actually work for you, would you try it? Then head to Golo.com.
I'm Steve. I lost 138 pounds in 9 months on Golo.
I'm Amber. I've lost 128 pounds with Golo taking release.
If you're ready to take back control of your life, head to Golo.com now and see how Golo can work for you. That's GOLO.com.
My sleep is way better. My inflammation has gone way down. Golo saved my life. I was way overweight. That's what sent me down the path. I wanted to make sure and live for my kid.
I have literally tried everything. I was on the verge of getting gastric bypass surgery, and I saw the Golo commercial, and it was the last thing I tried because it worked.
Join over 2 million people who have found a better way to lose weight with Golo. Your healthier and happier life begins at Golo.com. That's GOLO.com. Again, GOLO.com.
Are you struggling to lose weight and keep it off? Tired of wasting time and money on starvation diets that lead to more frustration and stress? If there was a weight loss solution that could actually work for you, would you try it? Then head to Golo.com.
I'm Steve. I lost 138 pounds in 9 months on Golo.
I'm Amber. I've lost 128 pounds with Golo.
If you're ready to take back control of your life, head to Golo.com now and see how Golo can work for you. That's Golo.com.
My sleep is way better. My inflammation has gone way down. Golo saved my life. I was way overweight. That's what sent me down the path. I wanted to make sure and live for my kid.
I have literally tried everything. I was on the verge of getting gastric bypass surgery, and I saw the Golo commercial, and it was the last thing I tried because it worked.
Join over 2 million people who found a better way to lose weight with Golo. Your healthier and happier life begins at Golo.com. That's GOLO.com. Again, GOLO.com.